Again, the parents who hope the tragedy of their daughter's murder will help save other victims of domestic violence. Also in the programme this evening, a rift at the racecourse claims that Wrexham's chairman had illegal dealings over the football ground. Making their presence felt, Welsh supporters of hunting with dogs demonstrated Labour's conference. The difficulties of being a disabled consumer, why this Welsh city makes life easier. And we're staying on the line. These rural residents want their public phone box to stay where it is. First this evening, Melanie Ellsbury had been married for a month when she was murdered by the husband who'd beaten and abused her for 6 years. Today, her parents said they hope her tragedy will help others to find the courage to walk away from lives of violence. They're supporting a new helpline for victims of domestic abuse, which has been given £700,000 from the National Assembly government. With more on that story now, here's our chief reporter, Penny Roberts. Penny.
Sarah, thank you. The Wales Domestic Abuse Helpline has been running since April. Today was the official launch with that announcement of extra funding from the Assembly government. But it's a service that's long overdue. It's thought that 25% of women in Wales suffer some sort of a domestic abuse. But abuse isn't confined to women. It's estimated that 16% of men are victims too. The helpline, run by trained counsellors, is gearing up to cope with up to 10,000 calls a year. This is Melanie Ellsbury on her wedding day. 4 weeks later, she was dead, strangled by the man who'd promised to love and cherish her. Chris Ellsbury had tormented the mother of 3 for 6 years. After each beating, he'd promised to change.
You want them to be happy, and then you know that the person they're with obviously is so wrong for them, but you can't persuade them otherwise. They just got their own minds at 27, and she loved him.
Like any other father, you just want to go and sort it out in the way only a father can. But Mel wouldn't have appreciated that from me. Mel thought she could change Chris.
It's estimated that the lives of 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men are being made a misery by some sort of domestic abuse. And just like Melanie's family, it's not just they who are affected. It affects the children and very often the relatives too. Do the maths, says Welsh Women's Aid, and you could have 500,000 households in Wales suffering in silence. Now there is someone to turn to at the end of a phone. There's advice and help for victims and their families. That wasn't the case when Rhian Palmer found herself trapped in a violent relationship. She was stabbed and beaten, but for years was too frightened to get out.
He made me feel useless, worthless, that I was no good, that I was a bad mother and wouldn't cope on my own. And a lot of fear. He really scared me into staying with him.
For many who call the helpline, it's the first time they've spoken to anyone about their abuse. For others, it's the first time someone has believed they're telling the truth.
It's an opportunity to actually, in your time, and when you need that help, to actually pick the phone up and say, will you listen to me?
For Melanie and her family, a national helpline dedicated to helping victims of domestic abuse has come too late. But her parents hope that her death won't be in vain.
If we can just make one person think and take stock of what is actually happening to them, then it's a worthwhile thing. We can't do anything for Mel anymore. Mel is gone.
They will never come to terms with the loss of a much-loved daughter at the hands of the husband who was supposed to protect her. But Colin and Julie Crumpton are determined that they will raise the child of that marriage in a happy and safe home, one that he never knew before. And the helpline is open every day from 8 a.m. until 2 in the afternoon, and again from 8 in the evening until 2 o'clock in the morning. And if you need help, the number to ring is 0808 80 10 800. Back to you, Sarah.
Penny, thank you. An investigation by BBC Wales has found that the chairman of Wrexham Football Club has illegally transferred the racecourse ground to his own company. Alex Hamilton has also given the club, which has substantial debts, notice to quit the stadium. But a legal expert believes that shareholders could challenge this. Nick Pallett reports.
Alex Hamilton has been involved with Wrexham Football Club for 2 years, and the solicitor turned property developer is now the majority shareholder. It's emerged he transferred ownership of the racecourse ground to one of his companies and has told the club he wants them out by next July. On tonight's Week In, Week Out programme, a corporate lawyer has questioned the legality of the move because shareholders weren't consulted.
I was totally shocked. I've been practicing law now for in excess of 21 years, and I have never seen a transaction like that. Because, as I say, suddenly a major value asset cannot suddenly be worthless.
Outraged fans have realised their club is facing collapse and recently protested with a march through the town and a demonstration outside Mr Hamilton's home. The Wrexham Supporters Trust claims Mr Hamilton is feathering his own nest while the club's mounting bills go unpaid.
I'm sure the Inland Revenue would be very interested in the fact that Mr Hamilton's moving assets out of the club when the club actually owes the Inland Revenue close to about £1 million. I hope they don't find out.
If planning permission to develop the historic racecourse ground is granted, the land is estimated to be worth at least £10 million for housing or